Chapter 25. Ivy looked surprised and delighted. I had never felt such fury. I stood and sang, flooding the room with sound. "I am no ogre!" But I wasn't sure. I lowered my voice and spoke. "I am no traitor." The jury stared at me, as they all did, as if I were a creature in a menagerie. I sang, flooding the room again. "I am loyal to Eartha." I held the A, made it reverberate against the walls. Uchu barked. The bailiff nodded at the guards. I continued to blare forth. A guard advanced on me. I stopped singing. Ijori sang, his voice full of horror. "I kissed you." I hated him. Both Ivy and Princess Eleni cried. "You kissed her?" "I wish you hadn't," I said. "Someone as faithless as you." At least he looked disconcerted. "She can't be allowed to do this illusing," Princess Eleni said. "We can't trust our ears." "She did worse than illusing," Sir Ulu said. He addressed me. "You won the Queen's affections, and gave her advice that would cause a rebellion." "Rebellion?" Ivy cried. I sank onto the bed. "I didn't. I wouldn't. Why would I?"
"Ah," Sir Ulu said, "because you'd also insinuated yourself into the prince's affections. The queen would be overthrown. You'd marry the prince and become queen."
The room was spinning. "He'd marry her?" Ivy said. Ijori said softly,
"I'd hoped to wed her."
"Oh, son," Princess Eleni said. I was going to faint, or retch. I lowered my head to my lap. "Wed her?" Ivy said. "Wed her? Guards! Imprison her!" My stomach churned. I stood and lurched to the washstand. Uchu came with me. As I threw up into the basin, the others decided it would be too dangerous to consider my fate in my presence. The bailiff stationed guards outside. The council and Ivy exited into the king's bedchamber. Ijori called Uchu, and she left me. I was alone. I collapsed onto the rug. I closed my eyes and didn't move for a long while. If I'd been pretty, I'd have been safe. If I'd had an ordinary voice, I'd have been safe. I dragged myself up and went to Ivy's dressing table. Ugly in the ordinary mirror. Ogreish? Maybe. I looked into Skolny and my face became beautiful. No trace of ogre in that face. How I'd love to be beautiful when Ajori and the rest returned. I'd laugh at their shock. I'd laugh and laugh. The image faded. I pulled open the dressing table drawer. I'd looked in it 1,000 times, and I found no potions now either. I stared down at the tabletop, at the cosmetics and the mirror and the golden flute. Why would a woman who had no music in her keep a flute on her dressing table? I knew why. I unscrewed the flute's mouthpiece. 2 small vials slid into my shaking hand. One was made of green clay, the other brown. Neither was much bigger than my thumb. Each bore a label. The green vial's label read, "Beauty." The other label read, "Disguises." I uncorked the green vial and raised it to my lips. How much should I drink? I lowered the vial, aware of my marble toe. I wondered when the others would return. The tumbler Sir Ulu had brought me was on the floor by the bed, still half filled with water. I carried the vial to it and tipped in 4 drops. The potion was clear, but the water turned cloudy. I returned to the dressing table and emptied the draught down my throat. It was mildly salty, nothing worse. I watched myself in the ordinary mirror, not in the hand mirror. I wanted an honest reflection. Nothing changed. Perhaps it had no magic for humans with ogre blood. A blaze ripped through me, from my scalp to my toes. My eyes watered and burned. I ran to the washstand and threw the water pitcher left in the pitcher on myself. The fire roared on. I saw my hand holding the pitcher. The skin was red and coarse, the texture and color of a tongue. The fire passed, but then my bones, my muscles, my bowels, my heart were squeezed and twisted, wrung as if by a giant washerwoman. I felt myself fall. Then I felt nothing. I awoke on the floor free of pain. I saw a section of rug, my sleeve, my wrist, and my hand. I moved a finger to prove it with my hand. It didn't look like my hand. It was too pretty. The finger moved. I flew to the mirror. There I was, my beautiful face in the ordinary mirror. And not merely my face. My neck was graceful, and my shoulders were narrower. I was commanding, but no longer oppressive. The midnight blue gown had become too big, and it was wet around the shoulders where I had tried to douse myself. I was glorious in the gown nonetheless. I would be glorious in a potato sack. I smiled at my image. Oh, such a smile! A wounded bird's spirit would lift at that smile. I sang softly, "Some love the rain, not I. I love the cloudless sky." I had become the cloudless sky. I wondered if my marble toe had become flesh again. I concentrated. No, it was still marble. Perhaps I could win Ajori back. He couldn't hate me when I looked like this. He'd listen to me now. But I hated him.
"You are fairer now. Fairer than—"
I spun around, but no one was there. I spun back and looked down and saw a face in the hand mirror. The creature in the mirror, Skolny. He had a man's face, a sharp face, small features and small ears and a nose that came to a point. He was smiling at me, his eyes slits of merry spite.
"Fairer than Queen Ivy. You are the fairest of them all."
His voice was flat, with no music. It was sugary and insinuating, the voice of a spider inviting a fly in for a sumo.
"Finish the potion, Lady Aza, or your beauty will be fleeting."
I touched my ivory cheek. I didn't want to revert, but I didn't trust him, and I didn't want to burn up again, be squeezed.
"Hurry, they'll be back soon."
I opened my reticule and dropped in the vial. I'd decide later.
"When you leave this room, the vial will remain. The potions stay with the mirror. Drink up."
I took the vial back out of the reticule.
"Drink," he chuckled, "or your love will return and see you change from fair to frightful."
He was too eager. I put both vials back in the flute. 4 drops will suffice. What were they deciding about me in the king's chambers? What was Ajori saying? Skolny said,
"If you finish the vial, I can tell you my plan for Eortha and the queen."
I didn't know what he was talking about, but I didn't care. I did care. "Tell me, then I'll finish it." I heard voices and bustle in the wardrobe closet. I turned to face the door. I wanted to see their expressions when they saw me. Uchu ran to me. She didn't seem to notice any change. She greeted me and I petted her. Had I reverted in the last second? Ajori came in first, but he had not yet taken me in when Ivy shrieked. She ran past him and, before I could protect myself, slapped me across the face.